This is The Guide Gals, a modern, wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 10,000 hours on Pinterest, and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who's obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I Do. Hello and welcome back to the Guide Gals podcast. Today we are going to be talking about hosting your rehearsal dinner at home and everything that goes into that. So this is something that is a really budget-friendly option. So if you're looking to save some money somewhere in your wedding planning, this might be a great place to do it. And a lot of people are opting for this as well because it brings such like an intimate and familiar feel to the event. So I really love this. There's lots of ways to do it. It doesn't even have to be your home. It can be your parents' home or your friend's home or whoever has the spot that feels right for you. But yeah, we're going to get into, some questions you might need to ask yourself to figure out if this is the best option for you and maybe how you can achieve this if you would like to go this route.
Yeah, this route is also super flexible, very customizable. I love the feel of it. Like, you can go very informal. You could do backyard barbecue. You could do potluck style. You could have everyone playing cornhole, bags, wherever you're from, badminton. And you could end with a bonfire at the end of the night that stretches, late into the night because you're not at a specific venue where you have like a time frame. It's a little bit more flexible and a little bit more informal. But you could also still have a very elevated feel depending on your personality and your space, whatever that looks like for you. But I just love the intimacy of this. I think it's so fun to bring in these truly like personal elements where if you're having it, especially at a family member's house or in a special location. So there's so many parts of this that we love, but also a lot of logistics to think about to make it work.
Yeah, and we will get into those logistics. I feel like this is something that we are seeing a little bit more just because there is a huge trend that I love, by the way, where people are just trying to make their event feel super intimate and more personal. So I really love it. And yeah, we're going to get into some details on how you can do it yourself if you'd like to.
Before we get into those details, I need to know the details of what we're drinking today.
Caroline, what are you drinking today?
I have a cold brew. I've had cold brew, I feel like, in so many episodes. Last episode, I forgot to put creamer in it, and I love sweet coffee. I don't like unsweetened. So I put pistachio creamer in my cold brew, and it's like this limited time creamer, which I have no idea how to explain what it tastes like because I don't know. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, I really like pistachio ice cream, so I'm sure that I would really like that.
Yeah, that's why I bought it because I was like, oh, I like pistachio ice cream. But what does I don't know. It tastes good. It's the perfect amount of nuttiness and sweetness to it. I don't know. I'll call this a win. I don't know if I'd buy pistachio creamer all the time, but I love it. Little limited edition kind of moment. I don't know. I like trying new creamers or fun things like that.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like you always have something fun going on beverage wise, more fun than me. I am similar to you in that I love to always have drinks and I have fun with beverages and all of that, but you always are ahead of the game when it comes to trying the cool stuff. So yeah. I'm more of a creature of habit, I would say.
Is today's drink another one that you have regularly?
Yeah, I'm drinking water. I'm in my hydration mode for this morning, and I'm having water with electrolytes in there. It's Element, and it's watermelon flavor, which is decent.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but it's up there, I would say.
I think watermelon sometimes can be overpowering for me. I like it every once in a while, but I feel like any artificial watermelon-y flavor is sometimes just too much for me.
I understand.
Have you tried the grapefruit of Element?
I have, and it's not my favorite.
Okay.
I think I like watermelon more.
Oh, interesting. Oh. And you like orange the best, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Orange is the best for me.
I like citrus, and Chelsea does not, but that's fine.
It's my least favorite. I do continue to buy variety packs, so I always have citrus, and I drink them because
Yeah. None of the
got 'em.
flavors are bad. It's just I like certain ones
No,
more
yeah.
than others. Yeah. Hey,
Agree.
Element, you should sponsor us. We're not a health podcast, but we love you.
We're healthy-ish, so
Before we jump into some of the things that you should consider or like questions you should ask, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm probably going to relate a lot of these things back to my best friend's rehearsal dinner. She had hers at her childhood home. It was right around the corner from the ceremony location. Like, it was so perfect. Her mom also has these stunning gardens like around their house. It's like so pretty. And it just felt like almost an open house at her house where like you could walk around and talk to different groups of people, and we were all eating like appetizer tray. Like, it was this most wholesome feel. And I love that that was the vibe that kicked off the wedding weekend. Like, yes, we had this rehearsal dinner. We had lots of things going on before that. Once the rehearsal started, and then once we went to the rehearsal dinner afterwards, it just felt so calming and peaceful. So I cannot say how much, like, I'm a huge fan of this. Even like my rehearsal and rehearsal dinner, you guys know I got married in COVID. Like, it was not the same vibe. I love the rehearsal dinner. I think it's a piece of the wedding weekend that's kind of slept on at times, but it's truly where your nearest and dearest people, your family, your wedding party, like, is all together, and it has this very intimate feel. So I think putting some time and thought and effort into this piece of it is important. Don't let it become an afterthought, but also allow it to have whatever personality you want it to have. Maybe your wedding is a little bit more elevated and upscale, but you're going to allow your rehearsal dinner to be a little bit more laid back, a little bit more calm, kind of setting the tone for whatever you want that wedding to feel like for you. I think is super important. And so a lot of my friends have already kind of said like they are going the chill, intimate, like laid back route, and I love that for them. And so I'm really excited that we get to talk about the rehearsal dinner and all the ways that you can accomplish that feel.
Also, your rehearsal dinner doesn't necessarily have to feel exactly the same as your wedding or like the same as your wedding weekend if you're having several events involved. If you have maybe a wedding that's like very over the top and extravagant or really elegant, but maybe you do want to have a super casual, like maybe cookout style rehearsal dinner, just like for some contrast and maybe some like chill relaxation leading up to all of that. I don't want to say stressful, but like just like a different vibe. It's there's no rules. It's your celebration, so
Yes.
you can make it however you want. Okay, so if you have decided that you want to have this at-home rehearsal dinner, we have a couple questions that we want you to very realistically ask yourself when it comes to planning this to figure out if this is something that is achievable for you or even achievable. Like maybe you're like, oh, I want to have it in my own backyard. Maybe your backyard won't work, but maybe your parents' backyard will work. Or maybe your grandparents would be generous enough to allow you to plan an event at their space. So the first question that you want to ask yourself, and big emphasis on be realistic in your answers on these, is will the home hosting your event comfortably accommodate the amount of people that you want to invite? Okay, so like if you live in an apartment in the city that is like a one bedroom situation, like are you going to be able to fit like 50 people if you want that? I don't know if 50 people is like how many people would realistically be at your rehearsal dinner. Maybe that's way too many. Maybe that's not enough. I don't know. Depends on what kind of celebration you want to have, but figure out what you want that guest list to be, who you want it to include, and figure out, I mean, that's step one. Are they even going to fit there? And if they are going to fit there, are they going to be able to like move their elbows? Or like if you're having, you know, an actual dinner part of your rehearsal dinner, like will there be places for people to sit? Will you be able to add tables if there's not enough space? I mean, I've been at like not rehearsal dinners, but like parties or whatever before where there's like food and you're like standing with your paper plate and you're like eating, and it's just like, it's fine. Like I'm happy to be there, trust me, but like it's just not as comfortable of an experience for your guests and probably for you too. So yeah, something to think about. And once again, think about it early, but if your space doesn't work, maybe you have, you know, a vision to have your rehearsal dinner at your grandparents' house. Like I mentioned, maybe they have a beautiful backyard, or maybe they have one like Caroline's friend's mom with a bunch of gardens all around, what that would make for like really beautiful photos and stuff. maybe that would work. But that's something you have to clear with the host, the actual owner of the space as well. So yeah, that's step one. Can you accommodate the amount of people in the space?
Yeah, yeah, especially if the space is like, if you're planning around an outdoor space. Like, I just saw a TikTok where this dad was like prepping their house for the actual wedding, not I guess for the rehearsal dinner, but like the actual wedding. He was putting so much effort into the outdoor space, but I kept thinking when I watched that video, like, but what happens if it has to go indoors? Like, I'm sure they thought all that through, but like that's a good thing to think about. Like, they ended up like posting a video of their wedding, and it was outside and it was gorgeous. Like, they did a great job of making that space into like, it felt like a wedding venue. But of course, the planner in me had to think, oh my gosh, what if you do go inside? Like, what do you do? So yeah, that's a really good thing to think about. Okay, another thing you want to ask yourself or to think about before you decide to host your rehearsal dinner at home or wherever is the catering aspect. Are you going to do, first of all, are you going to do the catering, or like a family member going to do the catering, or are you going to hire a caterer? That's a huge part of it. And I have seen it done a lot of times where, like, if you're doing that backyard barbecue potluck style, heck yeah, like just have people, like maybe you're providing the main and the drinks and everyone's bringing a different side and dessert. Sure, for sure, if that's your vibe. You already have a lot of things to work on this weekend though, and I wouldn't ask anybody who's already working on stuff for the wedding to also provide this. If you have some aunts who really love to cook and love to host, great, that might be a good thing for them to do. But you know what, we're huge fans of like making it easier for yourself, and
Yeah.
I think everyone will enjoy it more if they don't have to worry about taking things out of the oven and then cleaning up the space beforehand. Like, you know, there are a lot of things to think about there. So first and foremost, think who's doing the catering, who's providing food. Cool. Once you've got that figured out and you maybe are going with a caterer, where are they going to set up and where are they going to cook? If they need to be cooking in your space, you really need to evaluate your menu and the like what you have available to them. If you're doing a larger rehearsal dinner too, they may need more space, a bigger kitchen. They may need multiple ovens to do things at different temperatures. Like, again, lots of logistics to think about in this respect. So if you are working with a caterer, they may need to come and they need your kitchen. They may need to come in and make plans with you accordingly. Or a lot of times you could also find a caterer that can just bring things that are ready to go. So just another thing to think about is, where are they prepping? Are they going to be prepping in the same space that you're hosting? Like, is the kitchen area going to be part of, like, or is it a little bit more secluded and making it be that would be easier for the flow of your event? Totally just need to think about all of those things, because you want to provide the right space, not just for your event, but for your vendors as well, for those caterers, because I mean, it's a rehearsal dinner. The food aspect is important. Okay. There's nothing you can do about that aspect of it. And you do want to make sure the food aspect is taken care of, because I do think a lot of, community, camaraderie, I'm not sure exactly the word I'm looking for, but that's a really special part of the rehearsal dinner part. So the food being there, whether that's prepared by a family member, yourself, or a caterer, and just making sure you have the appropriate space for that too.
Yeah, that's not something that I'm super knowledgeable about, like all the catering and like what exactly goes into it. And I know that, yeah, a lot of caterers can bring stuff ready to go, which is great probably for that kind of situation if you're hosting at home. But if you want them to be actually like preparing certain things like in your kitchen, like, I don't know, I'm thinking about like my own kitchen, which is like right over there, and I don't think it would accommodate too much. I mean, I think it's a great kitchen, but it's not huge, so things to think about for sure.
Oh yeah.
And just questions to ask the caterer that you're interested in.
Yes.
Or even like, honestly, I know food trucks are super popular for weddings, but how cool would that be for a rehearsal dinner too? Like, I think if you're wanting a more casual vibe and maybe you don't want to do like a cookout or potluck or whatever, you don't want to put anyone or make anyone responsible for that. If budget allows, a food truck might be really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
That. All right, the next question that you're going to want to ask yourself involves setting up. So if you're using your own space, of course, you know that you'll have access to this right away or, whenever. But if you're using your grandparents' space, your aunt, your friend, whatever, you probably need to know exactly, you need to have a game plan with each other. And like, when are you going to be setting up those tables, those chairs, any decorations that you want to add? Like, how crazy are you going with it? Like, maybe there's not much that needs to be done, but maybe there's like a whole bunch that you want to do. So you need to have a game plan, like I said. And this is a time, if you're kind of doing all of this yourself, which if you're doing it at home, like you likely are, this is the time to call in the troops, okay? Like your wedding party, assign them things. You are going to be very busy. You don't want it to just fall all on yourself and your fiance to get everything all set up. Ask people for help and make sure that at the very least you have access to it like the day before. So that way, the day of your rehearsal, if you're actually doing that wedding rehearsal at your venue beforehand, like that's all that you really want to worry about that day. You don't want to be, I don't know, lifting chairs and tables and then also like trying then to put on your special outfit that you got for your rehearsal dinner and do your own, like that's a lot going on. And allow yourself plenty of time and ask for help. If you have people that are willing to let you use their space, it's likely that they're excited to be able to do this with you, and just voice what you need. And if they're not willing to help you, ask others. Like there's a lot of people that are going to be here to support you on your big day. Of course, you don't want to rely too heavily on them because they're not your employees, but if you're trying to pull something like this off, make sure that you communicate very well and let people know what you need and allow yourself lots and lots of time for setup.
Yes. And that even kind of goes into the decor aspect of it too, because there's a lot of things to think about, like the food aspect, the setup, the tear down. There are already probably a lot of things that you're going to take on yourself for the rehearsal dinner if you're going this route. So thinking about, okay, how much decor do I want to bring or make or set up? Because then you also have to think about the cleanup for all of those things.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, and let's not forget, your wedding is likely the next day. So there's just like a lot of things that, again, yes, you can do it. Is it worth it for you to do that? Or do you need to set up a team who's going to be the cleanup team? And maybe they're the cleanup team for rehearsal dinner and the wedding night. I'm not really sure how you want to work that all out, but just a good reminder that whatever you DIY in this process, can save you money. It will also take more time and may require a couple more logistics of thinking, okay, if I'm taking on the setup and the tear down, there are a lot of things that go into that. Do we need to make sure that these rentals that need to go in a specific place? Are these things that we can take care of when we get back from the wedding? Who's to say? But the more that you do yourself, I think in both the respect of a rehearsal dinner or a wedding, the less time you have to enjoy it. Because you're going to be thinking about all the things that need to happen. If you're listening to this podcast, you're somebody who's thinking 10 steps ahead already.
Yeah.
Just think about what you want to take on, because I think sometimes us planners, type A kind of people, tend to want to take on a lot and then don't get to enjoy it. So consider this my caution to you of like how much you take on. Yeah, you can DIY parts of this for sure. Just be cautious when you think about how much you're going to take on.
Yeah, beware of DIY for sure. Caroline and I are both the type of people that will be like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. Like, I can do that. And like, I'm a yes person. I think Caroline is too, where it's like, well, yeah, I'll just do all of the things all at once. What do you mean? And seriously, like, beware of that. You're going to be ripping your hair out if you commit to DIY every single part of your wedding. Like, and also remember, like, your rehearsal dinner, while it's very special, and we love like making things like as amazing as they possibly can be, but it's not even your wedding. So like, you don't have to like break your back DIYing every part of your rehearsal dinner. It's not even your wedding.
Yeah.
Once again, like, it's not even your wedding day. So yeah, beware of DIY. That's very important. But yeah, those are kind of the questions that we have for you that you want to make sure that you ask yourself. So if you answered yes to the above questions, probably all of them you'll need to have some sort of yes answer to. You can probably achieve a wonderful at-home rehearsal dinner. So yeah, super exciting, but all of those things are things that you have to really think through and make sure that you figure out. And especially those pointers on being aware or beware of DIY. Don't take on too much. Have a game plan, ask for help as far as setup and tear down, especially tear down. Oh my gosh. Like, you don't want to be the one like loading a bunch of chairs onto a trailer or something to like get them out of your aunt's backyard at midnight the night before your wedding. That sounds really bad. So ask for help. And then especially if you are using someone else's space, make sure that you have that game plan in place, even if you're using your own space. But you want to make sure that you're being very respectful, of course, you know this, of someone else's space and even your own space. Like, oh my gosh, make sure that you have a game plan for cleaning that up as well. You don't want to leave it for several days and then come back after your wedding, or like you go away for like a weekend or whatever, like, and you come back home and you have like a huge mess in your backyard, or like in your like, I don't know, in your living room. I don't know where that would be, and you have to clean all that up. That sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, definitely have a game plan for all of the aspects, especially that tear down. Oh my gosh. Jeez. But we love the idea of at-home rehearsal dinners. I love so much like that intimate feeling that it has. And especially if you have some sort of special connection to the space, whether it's your home, or I love how you mentioned, Caroline, your friend had her rehearsal dinner at her childhood home with like her mom's gardens all around her. Like, that's so sweet. I love that. And if you end up having an at-home rehearsal dinner, please let us know how it went.
Yes.
Let us know if we missed any steps as far as questions to ask or plans that you need to make. We would love to hear from you on that. And we would love to see any photos that you have from it as well. We love photos. Yeah.
It's just so sweet. Yeah. We love all of these things. And we didn't touch on a lot of other details that, you know, surround a traditional rehearsal dinner at a venue, or even if you wanted a hybrid of like an Airbnb rental, like that adds some more logistics into it too. Like, we didn't touch on those things. So if you want future episodes that have some more to do with that, let us know. We are happy to provide this for you, because we love talking all things weddings, and a lot of times we don't get to talk all about these fun extra events. So it is really fun to kind of break them down and think about how you can make them super personal and intimate and fun.
Yeah. And if you, like Caroline said, if you have any questions on anything to do with rehearsal dinners, please send them our way. Or if you have episode suggestions or questions, anything else wedding related or drink related too, that's cool. You can reach out to us on our website, and that's theguidegalspodcast.com. On there, you can find our full episode library, as well as a bunch of free resources, free planning resources that we have for you. You can also find us on Instagram at The Guide Gals Podcast. We are on TikTok at The Guide Gals Pod, and we are on YouTube as well. Our episodes have a video component, and that's on the Here Comes the Guide YouTube channel. So that's where you can find us.
Yeah.
That's where you can find us.
And you should find us there, because we will share all of these fun behind the scene things. And again, we want to hear what you want to know. We want to know like all the details that we can bring to you in whatever format, because ultimately this podcast exists to help you in the wedding planning process, and we just get to have fun doing it. And we do.
We do.
And as always, this is a super fun episode, but that's all for today. So until next time, cheers.
Cheers.